Hi, scholars. My name is Oscar, and welcome to the Cultivating Community podcast, where we talk about school, personal life, and everything else in between. Did you miss me? Yeah, I missed you too. I missed you too. Well, don't worry. I'm back. I'm back. Um, I can't believe that it's already been 3 weeks since I did the last podcast. It feels like it was like not even that long ago, but we're already in week 6. Actually, we're like wrapping up week 6. Um, which means that the spring quarter's already almost over. That's exciting, but also kind of scary. I'm teaching over the summer and I'm like trying to make sure that I get enough enrollees in that class. I'm teaching in summer session 2. That's going to be really exciting. I'm like also teaching in the Dimensions of Culture writing program. So really excited about that and all the stuff that we have going on, but I'm like really nervous to get all of like the grading load that just comes with like the end of the quarter. And then also like I need to lock in with my research, but I'm being productive, but much to do is what I'm saying in the remaining weeks ahead before summer break. Um, Kind of like I alluded to, there's so much already going on in the quarter, especially like as we're kind of beginning to really head into the like final tail end of the quarter. And I'm tired. I had a grad seminar presentation today that went super well. I'll admit, like I was like nervous about it, but I felt like confident. I liked the material. I did a presentation on the second half of Jose Esteban Muñoz's book, The Sense of Brown. Last week we talked like exclusively about the first half. This week was the second half, and I presented on that second half. And I was just really like nervous about it, but it went super well. But I had that today. I also just came back from Beyonce. That was so much fun. That was so much fun. But like literally finished teaching Wednesday and I drove up to LA for the concert. And literally, the concert was yesterday. And then this morning, I drove back down to San Diego because I had that presentation. And so I left LA this morning at 8. And then I got here at 11 and my class was at 2. So I had that. And right before then, I flew to Fresno. That's where I'm from. I flew to Fresno because my sister had like her first communion. And like some of y'all might get this, but just like being Latino, like religion is just such a cultural big thing that like I knew that if I missed it, my sister, being the diva that she is, would never forgive me. So I like flew back. And so I've kind of been all over the place. Like I am tired. But Oscar, like, why do you bring that up? What are we doing? Where are you going with all this? I promise I have a point. And that is that it's a wonderful segue to our topic for today. So last time we spoke, we talked a little bit about toxic productivity and hustle culture. And so I was trying to find a way of like piecing um, these conversations together or like how to go from there. And I was like returned to Tricia Hersey's Rest is Resistance. We've taught that text in the Dimensions of Culture writing program. We've touched on it a little bit there. It's also been like really, I think, foundational to the stuff that we do at the Cross Cultural Center. And so it just felt really appropriate also to bring it up in this space since our last conversation was kind of about this when we were talking about toxic productivity and hustle culture. And so today, what I am thinking of doing, what I'm hoping we can do together, is to kind of just go through, definitely not the whole book, but I want to go over the main tenets that Hersey goes over in the introduction and just walk through them and think through them together. And so I'm going to begin by just kind of like asking the question, what is rest as resistance? Can rest be a form of resistance? Is this like vibing with you? Is this not vibing with you? I'm gonna just plant that seed in your head and you can continue to think about it as I kind of like read through and we can think about it together. But I'm going to pull this quote. I'm going to be working with a lot of quotes today and then kind of reflecting on them with you. And so I'm pulling this quote from the Nap Ministries website. And it says, quote, the Nap Ministry was founded in 2016 by Tricia Hersey and is an organization that examines the liberating power of naps. We believe rest is a form of resistance and name sleep deprivation as a racial and social justice issue. Okay, now that being said, before we transition, I personally like really enjoy napping. Like it's just always been a thing. And so this kind of just grooves with me naturally. Like I love, even when I'm not like actually sleeping, taking a nap, like I love to just lay in my bed. I kind of mentioned that last time that we spoke about how I was so excited about my duvet. Um, but like, I just love like lounging, napping, like closing my eyes and laying there, like yoga. And I'm kind of like all thinking about these things as like rest. Um, and so it really like was attractive to me the way that Hershey was framing this as a racial and social justice issue. And so now I read that quote from the Nat Ministries website, but I want to go to the text itself. Rest is resistance. And if you are a student at UCSD, you'll be able to access the book through the UCSD library using your Cisco VPN because, I got your back. I don't want you to have to pay for anything, but anyhow, so in Rest is Resistance, there are four main tenets that Hershey outlines. In tenet one, she says, rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. Tenet two, our bodies are a site of liberation. Tenet three, naps provide a portal to imagine, invent, and heal. And tenet four, our dream space has been stolen and we want it back. We will reclaim it via rest. And so now that I've kind of gone over those four tenets, I'm going to deep dive a little bit into each one of them. And I think it'll be really helpful to our discussion. And so to repeat again, tenet one was rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. There's a quote that I want to read from the text itself, and I think it'll be really helpful to kind of getting at what she's saying here, or at least how I'm thinking about it and being inspired by it. And that is, quote, all our culture is working in collaboration for us not to rest. And when we do listen to our bodies and take rest, many feel extreme guilt and shame. And Hershey specifically is rooting this version of American capitalism on the plantations. For Hershey, then, when you center rest, you're not only pushing against capitalism, but rest is also engaging in pushing against the idea that your worth is tied to your labor. And that's like super big. Another part that I was really attracted to, just like personally about this quote, was like the point about feeling extreme guilt or shame about taking rest. And I know that's something that like I definitely struggle with. I will admit, kind of like I said, I've been all over the place lately and I just want to like chill out, and that kind of just hasn't happened. I haven't had the opportunity to do so. But even like today, I had about like 15 minutes when I came back from driving down to San Diego from LA, and I was like, should I just get to work? Should I like take a break? I don't know. I'm kind of hungry, this and that. And I was like, okay, realistically speaking, I have plenty of time to take care of, everything that I need to do before I go to my class. I'm just going to take like a 15-minute break. And so I did. And I was like trying to really help myself by not feeling guilty or like shame about not just like, busting into the doorway and like setting my stuff down and like getting straight to business. Because, I needed to take a breather, and that's fine. Um, but I do want to also highlight something that Hershey says that I think is really important to also remember, which is that this is an ongoing process, but a worthwhile one. Um, this is an ongoing process, kind of like I just said, about my own personal experience, but it's a worthwhile one. Like, we deserve to rest, we deserve to take care of our bodies. They deserve that from us. And yeah, we're gonna learn together. For tenet two, Hershey transitions to saying that our bodies excuse me, a site of liberation. And in this in this section, she recounts a really horrific story of a forced C-section where she felt that she had betrayed her body. And then in another story that she also includes unpacking this tenet, she talks about like how she was in her son's class once he like entered elementary school, and that there was a student in her son's class that was being forced to hold in his pee, and like he needed to use the restroom. The teacher, being overwhelmed, told him no, wait your time. There's like 20 minutes till recess when you'll be able to use the restroom. But that the student had an accident and peed himself. And these are two really important moments for Hershey, I'm understanding, to talk about how our bodies themselves are places of liberation, places of reclaiming power and authority that we have been made to feel is taken away from us. And so I want to read this quote where she says, "From a very young age, we begin the slow process of disconnecting from our bodies, need to rest, and are praised when we work ourselves to exhaustion." And so here I kind of just think about Hershey saying that our bodies talk to us, but that we're socialized to ignore what our bodies are saying. And so, really, this tenet for me is really just reminding me that my body is something that I need to listen to. Whether that's like my back hurting because I've been sitting all day, um, me needing to do a little stretching, do a little bit of yoga, whatever it may be, listen to your bodies. For tenet three, Hershey says naps provide a portal to imagine, invent, and heal. Later on, when discussing this tenet, she says, "We can bend time when we rest, and I'm grateful for slowness and the embodied work of refusal." And something that really stuck out to me about this section of the writing was that she really is adamant that naps are a portal. And that is a really great like stepping stone to this last tenet where she says that our dream space has been stolen and we want it back. We reclaim it via rest. I really like this idea of dreams being a place of resistance, of liberation for us. The final tenet, tenet four, our dream space has been stolen and we want it back. We reclaim it via rest. The quote that I want to single out, um, is, "We must see our bodies as a miracle and a place of reverence, where existing in exhaustion is not normal or acceptable." And I really enjoyed the way she was talking about dream space, or like dream space as a concept, because it was making me think about like the possibility to imagine, and how the dream space can be a place to reclaim that for ourselves, our own ability to imagine and resist and build like different futures. And that reclaiming that or leaning into that can be a radical way of taking care of yourself. Or that, like, the simple act of taking care of yourself, putting your own personal needs first, can be a really crucial first step. And I guess since I've always been really interested in like social movements and stuff, I thought too about how, like, in the civil rights era, there were a lot of different ways that like folks engaged. And this is like a really broad connection that I definitely do not have the time like here to like deep dive into. But what I'm saying is that there are different ways that we resist. And even in the in the civil rights movement, there were a lot of ways that folks resisted that we don't always remember. Um, for example, MLK is often like heralded as the leader of the civil rights movement, but there were also other folks that were like really deeply integral to the movement. And I'm thinking about people like Ella Baker, Ruby Bridges, Fannie Lou Hamer, just to name a couple of examples. But like I said, really broad connection. But the connection that I'm just trying to really drive home here is that resistance is something that you can do on your own in like your own quiet solitude. And it sounds like such a small thing, but really, I think that what Tricia Hersey is getting us to realize is that rest is really radical. Rest is really powerful, and it could really pave the way for a brighter, different future. And so I just want to kind of wrap up that quick overview of the four tenets from Rest is Resistance by plugging a couple of other resources. You can follow the Nap Ministry on Instagram at the Nap Ministry. They also have a website that you can go and check out where they have more information about the Naps, where they have more information about the Nap Ministry specifically. You can also check out the UCSD Center for Mindfulness. They have guided audios and videos. It's a really easy like to navigate website, and I definitely recommend it. I also want to say that it is a tool that I've used in the classroom before, like a teaching tool. Um, I usually do check-in questions or like find some way to get everybody just grounded in the space before we really get started. And something that I've done before is to like incorporate the minute, 3 minute audios from the Center for Mindfulness. And they're just guided tutorials, and it's really nice. Students usually engage. It's also really nice for myself because I'm not gonna lie, like, I be going through my own personal things, and sometimes I need to center myself in the space. And so putting that out there also. And then a last sort of resource that I want to plug, or last couple resources that I want to plug, are, rest can look different for everybody. And so it's not just about napping, it's also about taking care of your body. The last resource that I want to plug is actually a few different resources. But I want to just preface this by saying that like rest is different for everybody, it looks different for everybody. And so you can take a yoga class at the REMAC. You can download the Body Rock app. I've done that before to do like hot yoga. Honestly, not really my thing. A little too intense for me, but I know that there's people that really do enjoy it. And then I've even seen, I haven't done this before myself, but I've even seen like yoga. I'm plugging a lot of yoga right now. And you may be like, Oscar, yoga is not my thing. And that's okay. That's okay. But the point is just, treat yourself good. Treat yourself good. Rest your body, whether that's you napping, whether that's stretching, going for a walk, or, whatever it may be. And so to transition, kind of like I did last time, I want to make a habit of just centering joy in the podcast. And so what I mean by that is I'm going to share a big joy and a small joy. My big joy is the Beyonce concert. That was so much fun. I think that Beyonce is probably one of the greatest performers of her generation, definitely of the 21st century. I think that all of the people that were hating on her for getting album of the year, like definitely did not listen to the album or don't be paying attention to Beyonce, because like after seeing her perform, I'm like, oh yeah, that's my girl. Like she did that. And so big joy, really amazing. Also lovely to be like in the space with so many other people that like dressed up and were there for the music, vibing. Loved that. That was my big joy. For my small joy, I'm gonna share my lip balm. It is the Fido Glow lip balm by Natrium. It's the petal. I don't know if you would call it like, it's not a color and it's not a flavor either, but it's like the petal one, is it? Like that's what it's called. And I'm really excited to try it. Like I needed a new chapstick. It's tinted, so we'll see how it actually like looks. It's kind of thick. I'm like playing with it right now, like as I'm recording, and I'm wondering why it's like taking forever to come out of the tube. But it is my small joy. It's making me happy. And then anyhow, before I like get distracted anymore, I want to wrap up by just sharing a couple of events that are going to be going on in the center. I really encourage you to drop in. It's going to be so much fun. I'll definitely be there. The events that I want to highlight are the Bloom with Purpose event. That'll be Tuesday, May 13th, from 3 to 4:30 p.m. And then the book fair. The book fair, we did that last year, and it was the first time that we did it. We're going to bring it back, do it again this year. It was so much fun. We had tons of vendors, book vendors. We had different events going on around the center. We also had like little arts and craft stations. It was just really good vibes. I loved it a lot. And I'm really hoping that we can replicate the amazing vibes we had last year and have them again this year. And so that'll be Wednesday, May 21st, 1 to 4. Feel free to drop in whenever. There's no RSVP for the book fair, but there is, I think, for the Bloom with Purpose. I guess that's actually a really good incentive for you to go and check out the Cross Cultural Center on Instagram. If you haven't already, it's at UCSD Cross Cultural Center. Make sure you follow us just to stay in the loop about everything going on in the center. But thanks for joining me today. I hope you had a really good time listening in. I hope you got something from this. I'm definitely gonna go and like freshen up and then take a nap. It's 9:45 when I'm recording this. So, I mean, probably not even nap. I'm probably just going to go to sleep. But it's going to be some really good sleep. And I hope that you can get some really good sleep too. But yeah, so this was the Cultivating Community podcast, and I will see you next time. Bye.